Hi everybody, this is our third video for our project, and in this video we're going to be creating a line graph to show how our temperature or precipitation changes. So before you can do this part of the assignment, you have to make sure that you have this data table filled out, the one that I'm showing you right now. Especially make sure you have all your data filled out for the temperature for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Or if you choose to graph the precipitation, you would do this data right here. So for this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to set up a graph and how to graph your temperature data. And for most of us, I think that would probably be the best choice, okay? So to get our graph set up, you're going to have to come down to this page right here. And the first thing we want to do is write in the dates for our graph for the data. Okay, so the dates are January 11th through the 15th. All right, next we want to have a title for our graph. And our graph is always going to have a title because it tells us the purpose of our graph. And this is going to be a graph that shows how the temperature changes over time, okay? So maybe we could label it daily temperature of Faribault versus time. And just to, we can put in degrees Fahrenheit, and then we can say in seconds. All right, so our title is going to tell us what our graph is about. So daily temperature in Fahrenheit of Faribault versus time. Okay. All right, next we have to set up the axes for our graph. And we know that when we make a line graph, our graph is going to have a x-axis and a y-axis. The x-axis, I'm going to put up one higher here so that I have enough room to label what it is. And we're going to call our x-axis is going to be the day of the week, okay? So we're going to put days down on the bottom. We can label this day of the week. And then what I want to do is I want to label all my days. And so that we can have a nice big graph spread out. I'm going to label it about every 2 boxes, okay? So I'm just going to use an abbreviation. So I'm going to say this is Monday. Say this is Tuesday. So this is Wednesday. Thursday. And Friday. Actually, I did that wrong. I'm going to start with this first box is Monday. So I'm going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So basically I skipped a line so I have it evenly spaced out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my y-axis, and my y-axis is going to have the temperature. And in order to get my temperatures in here, I have to look at, well, I have a temperature range from basically my lowest temperature is 15, my highest temperature is 35, and so I think I'm going to go up by 5s. Okay, so I'm going to label, starting with this first line is going to be 0, and I'll have 5, 10, 15, oops, 20. It's kind of getting in the way here. Okay, 25, 30, 35. All right, when we do a line graph, when we graph, what we're going to do is we're going to take the day of the week. So that's Monday, and on Monday the temperature was 20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Monday, I'm going to go up to 20, and then I'm going to put a dot. I'm going to change colors here, so I'm going to put my first dot right there. Okay, my next data point is Tuesday. So I'm going to go over to Tuesday, and I'm going to go up to 25. So we'll go over to Tuesday, and I go up to 25. Here's 25, so I'm going to put my dot right here. Okay, the next one is Wednesday. So go over to Wednesday and up to 15. So I'm going to go over to Wednesday and up to 15. So I'll be right about here. Then I'm going to go over to Thursday. I'm going to go up to 30. Again, you're going to use your data though. Okay, so don't just copy my data. I want you guys to use the data that we actually record from the weather. So it was Thursday, it was 30. Okay, so I can go back up to here. And then the last one, go over to Friday and up to 35. So we'll go over to Friday, up to 35. So right about there. The last part that you do with a line graph is the fun part. You need to connect the dots. So we can make a line. That's why it's called a line graph. All right, so if I look at my line graph, you can see that the temperature started out low and it went up a little bit. And then the temperature dropped quite a bit. And then we must have maybe had like a warm front that came through and it warmed up over time. So by creating this graph, I have a better visual and I can understand my data for the week. By looking at this graph, it really appears like a warm front happened in the middle of the week, and that's why the temperature went up. Okay, so I can start to see these patterns in the data by looking at just a simple graph of one weather variable, such as temperature. Last thing that we're going to do is we're going to do some analysis questions. So we're going to think about everything we learned. We're going to kind of sum up and reflect on it. So the first question says, what measurement changed the most over time? What changed the least? So they're asking you, for measurement, they're talking about these items. What changed the most? Is it temperature, the wind, the clouds, the precipitation, the humidity, or we wrote barometer down over here, the pressure. So you have to look at your data table and try to figure out which variable changed the most over the week. And we made a graph for the temperature. You can see that changed quite a bit. So to get you started with this, for a sentence frame, I would say the blank variable changed the most over time. Then it says what changed the least. So you'd basically do the same thing, except you'd say, well, the blank variable changed the least over time. And it says, how did you determine your answer? Well, you'd write about, well, how did you figure that out? Well, you could write about, I looked at the graph of temperature. I looked at the information shown in my pie chart that shows me how many clouds I had on each day and what types of clouds. Or did I look just simply at my data table and did I see patterns? And for example, maybe I had really low humidity in the beginning of the week and then it went way up in the end of the week. Maybe I had lots of precipitation the first 4 days and then none the last day. So it's going to really depend on what happens next week as we start to record, the weather data. And what patterns we're going to find, I can't tell you yet because we have to watch the weather and see what actually happens. But what you would do is you'd write about that. Okay, the next question says, during the 4-week period, actually we just tracked it for a week, you tracked cloud cover. What was the most common condition for your area? So I would say the most common cloud cover type was, and I'd fill in the blank. So was it partly cloudy, clear skies, or mostly cloudy? Okay, next one says, look at the line graph you made. Describe the conclusion that an observer viewing your data might be able to make based on the information. So basically I want you to tell me about your graph. What does this graph tell us about the temperature? As we talked about earlier, I would say something like the temperature started out lower and then it dropped and then a warm front occurred which caused the temperature to increase, okay? So what is it telling me about the temperature? So you could say, I can conclude the temperature increased when a warm front passed through Faribault. And again, we don't exactly know that's going to happen yet. I'm just using this as an example. All right, last question. It says, if you did this project again in 3 months, do you think the results would be different? Explain why or why not. So you'd say something like, I believe the results would be, so you have to decide, do you think they would be similar or different? So fill in the blank. I believe the results would be different or similar because. So one example you might say is, I believe the results will be different because it'll be summertime and the temperatures will be higher and there'll be much more precipitation in cloud cover because of thunderstorms. Or maybe you'd say, I believe the results will be similar because it'll still be early spring and we will have similar amounts of precipitation and cloud cover. So I want you to make a prediction based on what you're seeing in your data about how that might be different or the same 3 months from now. And that's it. So with this project, what we did is we actually got to become meteorologists for a short period of time. We collected weather data just like a meteorologist would do. We analyzed it and looked for patterns. We took our data and created graphs to help create visuals of the information so we could better interpret it. And then lastly, we analyzed our results to come up with some predictions and conclusions. So we'll be working on this project the entire week and also part of next week. I want you guys to take your time and do a good job, work on it in parts. We'll be working on this in our connections classes, and have a good day.